are which are introduced in your class 10 AI book. So I'm sharing my presentation here. Presentation is visible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. So we are going to discuss some concepts which was not earlier in the AI book, but now it has been introduced. So these are very important concept for AI. So we are starting with the ethics and bioethics. Why ethics is important in AI and what is specifically bioethics. How does AI make decision? Actually, it is a very important question, and I think it is a question of everyone, because in AI, what we say that it is able to take decision automatically. It can do everything. It can generate images. It can suggest us sentences. So how AI is doing all these things? Is there any magic or is there any algorithm? So what is exactly behind this? So we are going to discuss about the decision making process of AI, and what is the role of weights and bias in the decision making, and what is the actual mathematical model which is perceptron. So we will discuss how perceptron is able to take decision, or how it is helping in decision making in AI. And in last, we will discuss about the evaluation metrics or evaluation methods. How can we evaluate the AI model? So these are the contents of today's presentation. Now, first of all, we will discuss about ethics. So from our childhood, we have been taught that there are some values, there are some moral principles that we have to follow. Like we should not use abuse words for someone. We should not steal something. So there are some values and principles which are already in our mind, and we follow those principles. Now, if we talk about AI, so in AI, what we are doing, we are making machine like humans. So in AI, we are trying that machine should behave like humans. So if AI is if humans are following ethical principles, so AI should also follow ethical principles. It means whatever we are designing with the help of AI, whatever software or whatever hardware we are designing with the help of AI, should also follow the ethical guidelines. Then also it would be useful for a human being. Otherwise, it may create disasters. So why ethics needed in AI? First of all, bias and discrimination. Bias means we have some inherent idea about a particular person or particular object. So we may take some biased decision. For example, girls are more sharper than boys, our boys are more taller than girls. So we have this kind of presumptions in our mind, and in most of the cases, decision may be based on that particular biases. But if in case of AI, because the AI model totally depend on data. If for example, if your data is biased, whatever data you have taken for the designing purpose of AI, and if that particular data has bias, so your model will also have the bias, and it may create discrimination. It means in that case, prediction generated by your model or classification generated by your model may not be right because it was biased. Same is the very important aspect related to ethics is lack of accountability. For example, we have created a robot with the help of AI and mechanical hardware. Now, if that particular robot creates a disaster, so who will be the accountable for that? We are able to create fake videos. There are many sites which with the help of that we can create many things with the help of AI. But in that case, who will be the accountable for that particular software or hardware if it is creating some kind of harmful content? So it is a very very important aspect related to AI, and now it is being considered in the development of any AI model.
Ma'am, your video just paused.
The PPT, bioethics PPT is visible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now it's visible and your voice is
It may
also
be, yes, it may be network may be slow at your end. So in bioethics, majorly we concern about the ethics related to life, like related to healthcare, related to life science, or related to biology, because it is again a very important aspect. Because whatever we are designing, whatever software or hardware we are designing for the benefit of human beings. Just give a minute. Sorry. In bioethics, we discuss about the all the field which are related to human beings. It may be related to life science, it may be related to biology, or it may be related to healthcare. So, what is the role of bioethics in AI? It says that if we are preparing anything which is related to human beings, or which is related to healthcare, so we should keep some extra care. So in bioethics, we have some principles. These are the principles of bioethics. First principle of bioethics is autonomy. Autonomy means a person or a patient has a right to take his or take a decision about himself. Like a person may deny for a particular treatment, a person may deny for a particular surgery. So it's on his own decision that he will go for a particular treatment or not. So autonomy is very much important principle of bioethics. The next principle is beneficence. Beneficence means everything should be in the benefit of patient. Whatever doctors are suggesting or whatever medical practitioner are suggesting, they should not be harmful for the patient. They should only beneficial. And whatever treatment is being offered, it should be in benefit of the patient. Non-maleficence means do not harm. So, any kind of surgery which may be harmful for a patient, or which may cause a lot of side effects. So, this kind of things cannot be allowed, and it is not an ethical practice in case of bioethics principles. The last principle is justice. Justice means whatever is being offered, for example, COVID vaccine. So, whatever medical facility is available, it should be available to all. It should be fair. It should not be biased that a particular areas person will get this particular facility, and other areas person will not get that particular facility. So it should be fair enough that everyone should get the benefit of the medical facilities. So these are the principles related to bioethics. Now, why we are discussing these principles in perspective of AI? Because in AI, if we are talking about the healthcare models, like a model which may predict a disease, or if we talk about robotic surgery, so in that case, all these principles should be kept in mind. And whatever data is being used, for example, the data related to patient is being used, so there should be the informed consent. It should not be used without information of patient, or without consent of patient. So all these things are very much important to consider in case of AI. If we are using any data related to human beings or animals or any living beings, so we should keep all these principles in mind. Now, a very important and a very interesting question: how does AI make decision? Because we are, again, as I told earlier also, that we are saying that AI is able to take decision automatically. It can generate image, it can suggest us sentences, it can help us in writing emails, help us in writing letters. So how it is doing all these things? So the first thing that comes in our mind is we feel that it is a magic. If we are not very much aware about the mathematics or the algorithms behind it, so normally what we feel, it is a magic. So if we consider AI as a magic, it means we feel that it has capability to generate any kind of thing, and we feel that it is supernatural. It means sometimes we feel that it is much better than humans. For example, we may take more time to write some content as compared to ChatGPT or any other generative AI model. So if we consider AI as a magic, it means we have a different perspective. But this particular perspective is wrong, because AI is not a magic, because it is being executed on a particular system. It is being executed on a software. So it means it is a machine. It is a software which is being run on a machine. So it is made by humans. That's why we are using word AI. AI means artificial intelligence which is given by humans only. It is not God given intelligence. So AI is not magic. So how AI is becoming magic, or it is looking like magic, because it is able, it is being expert with the help of human expertise. Humans have made it made it expert with the help of data or with the help of algorithms. And it has some science, it has some mathematics, and on the basis of that only AI is able to take decision, or AI is able to generate some content. So AI is not a magic. It is a step by step process, and it requires some input, and on the basis of that input only it is able to generate something, or it is able to get decision. So now, before understanding that how AI take decision, we will consider our case, how we take decision, because AI is trying to replicate the human behavior. Whatever human is doing, AI is trying to do that particular thing. So to understand AI, first of all, we should understand our learning process. So what is our learning process? For example, we need to take a decision that we should go for a match or not. We should go for to watch a particular match or not. So how we will take the decision? First of all, there should be some factors in our mind. Some factors means some inputs. For example, the first factor may be, do I have free time? For example, I have a very busy schedule. So no matter that how important is match, or how who is the team, I will not go. So I think first factor may be, am I free? But for some other person, it may be that even he is very much busy, but his favorite team is playing, so he will go. So the factors may differ person to person. Every person may have some different priorities, may have some different importance. So whenever we take a decision, we first analyze all the factors. Like in this case, we will analyze that, do we have free time? Who is playing? My friends are going or not? And so these are the some factors, like, as I discussed, do I have free time? Then how important is match? Is it a World Cup, or is it a normal test series, or is it a one-day match? So importance of match is also a factor in taking decision, or may not be a factor, but person to person, all these factors may be less or more, and their importance will also be different. So I'm taking a simple example here. So here I have taken four factors that that a particular person will take decision yes or no on the basis of these factors. Now, the second step would be, there would be importance of each factor. For example, as I discussed, that for me the most important factor may be free time. For some other person, the most important factor may be favorite team. For some third person, the other important factor may be friends watching. So here, for a particular person, we are assuming the first important factor is free time. If he is having free time, he will consider it to watch. Then the next important factor is how important is match, like it is a World Cup or it is a one-day match. Then the third important factor is favorite team who is playing. It is also important. And at the fourth number, he is keeping to the friends are watching or not. So this is the important sequence of a particular person for the watching a match or not. So this is the importance factor. Now what we are doing, we are assigning a number to the importance. For example, free time has the weightage of 4. It means I have given a number to a specific importance. So I have given 4 here because free time is most important for me. Then important match, so 3.5 because it is less than free time and more than other factors. Same as favorite team. I have given number 2 to this, and friends watching. So we have assigned 1 to here. So these are the importance value to the particular factor which was very important in taking decision. So these are the importance factors, and on the basis of these factors, we will take decision. For example, a match is being played. So if I am having free time and also it is important, so I will definitely go. So now, if you ask this question to my friend that a particular person will go for match or not, he will say yes or not for watching this particular match. So his friend may say yes or no on the basis of what? On the basis of his past experience. For example, for last time I am seeing that if he is free and if the match is important, he will definitely go. So what it is being done here? A person has observed the past behavior of his friend, and on the basis of that, he has assigned a importance value to each factor, and he knows that what is more important for him and what is not important for him, and on the basis of that he will say that he will be saying yes or no. So this is the normal process of understanding some other one's behavior, or even understanding for our self behavior, that we will say yes or no. So this is the learning process of humans. We can make any guess, or we can make any prediction of our near ones on the basis of their past behaviors, that they will say for this particular case yes or no. So how we are saying? We are saying on the basis of their importance factor. And here we have given some numbers to the importance factor. Now, if we
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a query in the previous slide from the previous slide. This is
yeah,
from Deepika ma'am. The query is how these numbers are decided.
yes, yes.
We have for free time or an important match. Do we have a scale?
No. Actually, here I have taken some values, only assuming. I am assuming some values. But in case of machine learning, what will happen? In case of AI, what happens? Initially, your algorithm takes some random values of these importance values, and during training, for example, I have assigned one to all the importance factors. For example, free time is one, important match is also one, favorite team is also one, and friend watching is also one. Initially, our algorithm will assign a random value. Then what we will do? We will train our algorithm. How we will train our algorithm? We will give data to the algorithm. So with every iteration, our algorithm will come to know that this particular factor is important for this particular person, and this particular factor is less important for this particular persons. So on the basis of the data, our algorithm will update these values. Okay, and after training, after multiple iterations, these values will get stabilized, and now the values are as per the behavior of the particular person or as per the data. Is it clear, ma'am?
Deepika ma'am, if your query is answered, please give us a raise of hand. Yeah, it's clear. Okay, ma'am, we can move ahead now.
Yes,
Thank you,
we will
Deepika ma'am.
discuss. Yes, we will discuss more about this in further slides. Again, I have taken one more example here. For example, we are watching a movie. So what happens? We are taking information from our different sense organs. We are watching it. We are hearing the conversation, dialogues also. So on the basis of these inputs, okay, we are taking input through eye. We are taking input through our ears. Okay, and if a funny scene will occur, so we may laugh or we may not laugh. Okay, because it depends. For example, two persons are watching in the same room. It's a same movie they are watching, but one person is laughing and another other person is not laughing. It happens. Why? Because the activation level, or the, we can say, the threshold level of every person may differ. For example, we are taking different inputs. We are taking input through ear and eye, and ear and eyes also, and we are aggregating those inputs, and then we are reacting on the basis of that. So we may react or we may not react. Some person may react, some person may not react. It means what it says? It says that different persons may have different threshold level of reaction. We can see this in case of anger also. Some person may get very fast. They can get angry very fast. So why it is being happened? Because our neurons has how our neurons work. Our neuron accepts input from our multiple sense organs. They aggregate all those inputs, and after aggregation they get activated. So the some persons neurons get activated fast and some persons neurons get activated slow. So on the basis of that particular activation value, some person may react on a some particular situation and some person may not react on a particular situation. So this is the working of our neurons. Again, in AI, what we are trying that it should work like humans. So humans, so they have studied the structure of our brain and they have created a mathematical model which works like human brain. So here I have taken example of one neuron. As in our brain, we have millions of neurons. So this work is done by with the help of multiple or million neurons. So this same model is being implemented for AI and which is called artificial neural network. So in which we create multiple artificial neurons and we connect all those neurons and they work on the same concept as human neurons are working. So how human neurons are working? They are taking multiple inputs, they are aggregating those inputs, and then after comparing those aggregation of the inputs, it will be activated or it will not be activated. So this is the step of human neuron and same work will be done by artificial neuron. So we will see how artificial neuron work, and the scientific name given to the artificial neuron is perceptron. Actually it is the older name. Now we use word neuron. So perceptron is based on the same as the neurons which are available in our brain. So as I said, how our neurons work, they take multiple inputs. Like for example, here we have three inputs, x1, x2, x3. In earlier slide, I showed in case of cricket match, we have importance of each input. For example, in case of this particular case, for example, for me, conversation is more important. What was the dialogue delivery? It is more important for me, and my brain get information very sensitively with the help of ear. Some for some other purpose persons, the information whatever he is seeing or she is seeing may be more important. Again, so the importance of each input that we are getting from different sensors may be different. So in perceptron, that particular importance is presented with the help of weight. Whatever we were discussing for humans, that they give importance to the different inputs, same as that particular factor will be used here as weight. So here we have given weight to each input, W1, W2 and W3. So for assigning priority to the different inputs, we need a mechanism. Okay. So what mechanism we are using? We are using here the concept of weights. A perceptron enables learning from data with the help of weights, bias, and threshold. Now, what happens? As I said, these weights will be multiplied with the input. Here, as shown in this particular formula, here we will get summation of xi into wi. Xi means all inputs. For example, here we are having three inputs. So the equation would be, give a minute, where is pen? Here equation would be x1 w1 plus x2 w2 plus x2 w3. So here what we are doing, we are performing first step. As I said, our neuron works on two steps. First is to aggregate all inputs by multiplying with their importance, or we can say with their weight. So this is our first step where we are aggregating all the inputs. Then the next step is to compare this particular aggregation with a threshold. And if the value is greater than threshold, so our neuron will get activated. And if the value is less than that particular threshold, the neuron will not get activated. So here, theta may be any value. because every person may have different threshold or every application may require different threshold. So threshold is a value which decides that a particular neuron will activate or not. So the same working here is being implemented with the help of this particular perceptron model. So if we will perform this two step in mathematical form, so it would be called as perceptron. So what we have to do? First, we have to take some inputs. Then we have to multiply those inputs with the help of weight. Then we have to check the value, whatever we got in gx. If gx is greater than or equal to theta, the perceptron will give 1. Otherwise, it will give 0. Now, the question is that how, from where we will get W1, W2, and W3, as asked by some participant here. So now to get W1, W2, W3, how we start? We assume W1, W2, W3 initially, and then we train our algorithm. We train this perceptron with the help of data. For example, in previous case, X1, X2, X3, I am assuming, I know my friend's behavior, that his he has most importance for free time. Then second importance of match, and at last position is the favorite team. I'm considering here only 3 inputs. There were 4 inputs. So if this was the situation, his decision was yes. So he was ready to watch the match. In other case, for example, he was not free. Match was very much important. So I'm giving here 5. And the team was also favorite, but he has not watched the match. Again, he was free. Match was very important, and team was also favorite, so he watched the match. So this is what? This is data. These are samples. So this is previous data. On the basis of that, we can take decision that a particular person will watch the match or not, because we have studied his or her past behavior. So the same data we will provide here. So on the basis of data, what our model will do, our model will assume some weight, and it will perform these calculations. Now, initially what will happen, whatever calculations are performed by our model will not be the exact output that we are expecting. Because what we are doing, we are giving training to our model. So presently our model is not trained. Initially, we are just making some assumption of weights. We are assuming that weight would be 1, 1, 1, because we are not aware about its behavior. How we will be aware? How our model will be aware? Our model will be aware with the help of data. When we will show the data to the model, then it will understand that I am wrong. Okay. So initially, what model will do? Model will assume some weights and it will generate some output. But initially, whatever output is generated by model is not the output that it is expecting. So what it will do? It will again go back. It will change its weight and again perform the same task. And this process will be done continuously for multiple iterations. That is called training. That's why we use word training. That's why we say that our AI model requires huge amount of data, because after multiple iterations or after seeing multiple data samples, our model will understand that what should be the weight, and with every iteration it will update the weight. And after some iterations or after some time, it will understand that what should be the W1 value of W1, what should be the value of W2, and what should be the value of W3. So this is the main concept behind the learning of any algorithm, that it change its parameter with the help of data. And here what it is changing? It is changing the weights. That's why these weights are called learning parameter, because weights will be updated with the help of training. And this is the main parameter which helps in taking decision. One more parameter is there, bias. So we can introduce one more input here, that would be bias. So the role of bias is not that much important. It is only used to handle some kind of presumption. As I said, that our model may have some presumption that if the data is like this, so output always would be like this. So to handle those kind of presumptions, we add bias also. But the most important is the weight, and this is the only entity which being updated in training, because we don't have control on input and output. There is fixed input and there is a fixed output. And what is our purpose? Our purpose is that our model should be able to take decision whenever we give a particular input. For example, in this model, so what is our expectation? That, for example, here I will give that I have free time, our particular X person has a free time, and that match is not that much important, and the team is favorite. So he will say yes or no. So my model should say that he will say yes or no. So this is my purpose. This is our purpose to make any AI model. So to make any AI model, we have to give training, and during training, these weights will be updated. So this is the very basic model that is being used in AI, that is called perceptron, and now the word is being used is neuron. Okay, same process. Okay, I have to erase also it. Okay, so same thing is being shown in this diagram also. Same, we have taken a perceptron, then we have taken some input, we have taken some weights and bias also. And on the basis of all these calculations, our model will give decision. But as I have said, the decision will not be in first iteration. In first iteration, weight will be some random values. It will generate some output. It will compare this output to the actual output, and on the basis of that comparison, that how much I am wrong or how this model is wrong, it will go back, it will change weights, and again this process will be continued till the our model will not be trained, or till the model will not learn all the things.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
the thing is, how can we decide a number for threshold? I agree it could be of any value, but what could be the scale, please?
Yes,
Again, it's from
actually,
Deepika, ma'am.
again, yes, yes. In actual neural network, what happens? Threshold is also a function. Like we use functions like sigmoid. So sigmoid, we whatever is the value given by gx, as we see, as we have seen in our previous slide. Actually, I'm not getting the eraser here. Where is eraser annotation? Here. Just give me a minute. Okay, so whatever we are getting here in GX will be given to a activation function. Actually, that is not a constant value again. It is actually very basic model which was investigated in 1948. Now we are using very advanced model which is neuron. So in that we use only activation function. We don't use threshold. So activation functions are different functions, like it may be sigmoid function, it may be 10H function, it may be ReLU function. So those functions generate some value, and on the basis of those values, decision is being taken. It is not a constant value. Okay. I am not getting option. Okay, let me again start slideshow. Mhm. Please, where is eraser? Is it okay now? Okay, shall I move forward?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, same thing I have shown with the help of some example also. This is the example. So same match example we are taking here, predicting whether a person will watch a match or not. Suppose these are the four inputs. Free time is considered as x1. Match importance is considered as x2. Team is favorite or not is considered as x3, and friends are watching or not is considered as x4. Suppose again I am saying we are just assuming some weights, but these weights are not actual weights. These weights are the actual weights will be learned during training. So here we are just assuming some weight for the purpose of calculation only. So here we have assumed some weight as per our understanding that that a particular person will have more importance for free time than match importance than favorite team, and then friends are watching or not. So these are some inputs for this particular values. These are some weights actually importance because, and this is the input. So input is x1, 1 means he has free time. Match importance 0 matlab match is not important. Team is favorite, yes, team is favorite. Friends are watching, no, friends are not watching. So this is the input. So we are calculating gx as we have seen in previous slides, w multiplied by x. So w1 into x1 plus w2 into x2 plus w3 into x3 plus w4 into x4. So this would be 6. Again, we are supposing theta as 5. So in that case, decision would be what? Decision would be yes, because the calculated value is greater than threshold. But the question that asked by madam, it is very much valid that we cannot again assume threshold. Threshold is also a function which gives some value between some range, and on the basis of that value only decision is being taken. So this is the concept behind the learning of AI, or how we can understand that how AI take decision. Same example, some other example related to that. Here we are considering related to movie, that a particular person will watch a movie or not. There are some input, there may be some weights, and weights and input will be multiplied and get aggregated. And after that, it will be compared with some threshold, or it will be given to the some activation function. And on the basis of that, some decision will be taken. So this is the process of learning in AI. It is very important aspect, and if we understand this concept, it would be very helpful for us to convince to the students that how AI is being working. Now, if here we have seen the working of single perceptron, or a working of a simple example, the same thing I can show you with the help of some other data. For example, here we have data related to plant leaves. So here two features are available. As I said that there are always some factors in decision making. So here we have to decide that the leaf will be small or big. So the decision factors are leaf width and leaf length. So these are four samples. So for example, if leaf width is 2.7 and leaf length is 4.9, it will be considered as small leaf. If leaf width is 3.2 and length is 5.5, it will be considered as big leaf. Same as if it is 2.9 and length is 5.1, it will be considered as small leaf. And if leaf width is 3.4 and leaf length is 6.8, it will be considered as big leaf. So these are some samples, some data. So how our algorithm learn? Our algorithm learn in same manner as we discussed. It will take these two values as an input. Again, assign some random weight. It will do some calculations and will get gx, the intermediate value. That particular intermediate value will be given to the activation function, and whatever will generate, whatever output will be generated by activation function will be compared with this actual output. And initially the actual output and calculated output will not be same. So our model will backtrack, our model will do back propagation, and it will change to the weights. And for this purpose, we need more samples. Here only I have shown 4 samples, but in real world, we need more samples to train our AI model. So what will happen after multiple iterations or after multiple training, our model will learn the pattern that, for example, this is the pattern. So our model has learned that below this particular line will all be the small leaf and above this particular line will be the big leaves. So with the help of training, you can understand the weight in diagrammatically in form of this particular pattern. Okay, so this our model has learned this pattern, and with the help of this pattern, our model is now able to predict that the data point that will be below this particular data line will be considered as small leaf, and all the data point will be which will be above this particular boundary line will be considered as big leaf. So this is the main idea behind the AI model learning. They learn pattern with the help of data. They update their weight with the help of training. And once the weights are updated, they are able to make decision or they are able to predict. Same example I have shown for unsupervised learning also. For example, because in unsupervised we don't have label. The previous example was for supervised learning. Here we are having label that this is big leaf, this is small leaf. How we will do with this unsupervised? So in unsupervised, our all data points are similar because we don't have labels. So in that case, this kind of pattern will not work. Boundary line will not work here. So which will work here? Here we will here the grouping will be more beneficial. Grouping means in unsupervised, what we will do, we club the points which are similar, which has similar features. For example, there may be group of all average students, there may be group of all topper students, there may be group of all below average students. So what we do grouping of students on the basis of their feature similarity. Feature is marks. So there may be some other feature also. A group of students who are active in curricular activities. So there may be different groups. So here also that learning is done with the in terms of grouping. So all similar data points are grouped in form of clusters. And if a new data point will occur, so depending upon that in which group it is occurring. For example, if it is occurring in this particular group, so it will be considered as big leaf. If it is presenting in this group, so it will be considered as small leaf. So in unsupervised, the working is done in some different manner, but the main idea is that we should understand the designing factors or the factor which are important for decision making, and then we have to understand that what is the important aspect of those particular factors, and this is all done by our algorithm, and it is done with the help of training. So in AI there are two important parts. One is algorithm, which is being updated, and second is training. Algorithm alone will not work. We have to give data to the algorithm to train. So as we were talking about the machine learning algorithm or AI algorithm, so here we were talking that algorithm learn or AI model learns. So once they have learned, how we will check that they have learned? Because the AI learning is different from our traditional algorithm, in which we are aware that if we will give this particular input, it will give this particular output. For example, if we have created a program for factorial, for getting factorial of a number, so we will be aware that if we will give 5, it will give 120. So we are very much aware in case of traditional program that what would be the output of our model. But in case of machine learning, we are not aware because we are making it like human. So we cannot predict the even human behavior also, na, ki how what he will say or he will not say. We can predict, but we have to test it also. So in case of AI also, if we are training to our model, we need to test it also. So for the purpose of training and testing, what we do, we split the data set. For example, um, we have a data set of 100 houses. For example, we have plot size and their rate. House price, we want to do house price prediction. So we have 100 data of 100 houses. So if we use all 100 data of all 100 houses for the purpose of training, so how we will test our model? For, for our student, what we do, we give some sample questions to the students, and we train our student for those sample questions, but we don't give them test questions. We ask some different questions in exam. Then only we will be assured that our students are very good in this particular work and they have now learned this particular concept. So the same concept is being used here also. Whatever we are having in our data set, so we do not use a complete data set for the purpose of training. We use maximum data set. For example, 80% data or 75% data we may use for training, and remaining 20% or 25% data we may use for the purpose of testing. So the purpose of this is that we should have some data which is not being used in case of training. Then only we will be aware that our particular model has done properly. Because if we will use whole data for the purpose of training and the same data if we will use for the purpose of testing, so we may not be assured that our model is doing good. So we split the data and we keep maximum portion for the training and we keep some portion for the purpose of testing, because before deploying our model, we should be assured that our model is doing good, or it is making right predictions. Now, how we will assess that our model is doing good or not? So there are some metrics, there are some evaluation parameters. On the basis of that, we can check that our model is doing good or not. So the very important matrix that is being used in AI is accuracy. For example, I have given 100 samples in a test data as a test data to my AI model, and 90 times it has predicted right and 10 times it is predicted wrong. So the accuracy of model would be 90%. So the formula of accuracy, as we all aware, correct predictions divided by all prediction. So whenever we design an AI model, the goal is to get maximum accuracy. And accuracy, there may be training accuracy also, but the more important is test accuracy. Test accuracy means the data that we have not used at the time of training. So it is the data is same. Data is same, like it is the data of watching match, but the samples are different. And some samples we have used for the purpose of training, and some samples we are using for the purpose of testing. So depending upon the number of right predictions, we can calculate the accuracy of our AI model. So the major intention or the major purpose of designing an AI model or checking an AI model is to get the good accuracy. And if we talk about AI model, we normally don't go for 100% accuracy. We don't expect 100% accuracy with AI models, because it is not possible. Normally, it is not possible for real cases, because even as a human also, we can make wrong predictions. We may wrong sometimes. So if we are making an AI model, so it may also can create mistakes. Like if we do typing on Gmail, it suggests that us the next word or next sentence, but not always it may be right. It may be wrong sometime. So that's why we are measuring it in terms of accuracy. And it is considered as if accuracy is very good, so our model is good, or it is if it is near to 99, or if it is near to 98, so it may do very good. So accuracy is a very important evaluation parameter. And other parameter is confusion matrix. So in accuracy, what we are measuring, we are just measuring that how good it is. Now there are some other factors also, like we have created a model for predicting dog. Okay, so our model may predict dog as a dog, or it may predict dog as a not dog. So there are 4 parameters in confusion matrix: true positive, true negative, false positive, and false negative. This is actual, but this is input and this is output. So we will give this input and our model will generate this output. Now, true positive and true negative are the right answers. Right answers means we have given image of dog and our model has predicted it as dog. So it is working right. Same is In this case, we have given image of any other animal which is not dog. So our model is predicting it as a not dog. So in these two cases, our model is doing right. True positive and true negative. It is right for us. Now this false positive and false negative. This is not right. False positive means here we have given input of any other animal which is not dog, but our model is predicting it as a dog. This is called false positive. Positive means the class. Our main class is what? Dog. So if our model is predicting a dog, it will be considered as positive. But why we are adding here word false? Because it has predicted to any other animal as a dog. That's why it is false positive. Same as false negative. False negative means we have given an image of dog, but our model is predicted it as not dog. So not dog is a negative class, dog is a positive class. So our model has predicted a positive class as a negative class. That's why it is called, it will be false negative. So in some cases, only accuracy is not important. In some cases, we should know that how false positive is our model is generating how much, and how much false negative is our model generating. Where false positive and false negative will be important? Okay. So when false positive is harmful, spam email. Consider the example of spam email detection. For example, your model has predicted a not spam email as a spam email. It means it has segregated your a very important email as a spam email, and it has transferred it to the spam folder. Now, it may be very harmful for you. It may be a very important email. It may be a business email, and it has been transferred to the spam email, and you have missed that particular email. So it may be harmful for you. So false positive means your model has predicted a wrong input as a spam input, or wrong input as a right input. So that is very harmful in this particular situation. Now, when false negatives may be harmful, false negatives may be harmful for the case of disease prediction. For example, a particular person has a disease, but your model is saying that the person is not having any disease. So this is false negative. Person is having a disease, but model is saying that it is not, the person is not having disease. For example, in case of cancer or in any other serious disease, so your model is saying that person is not having disease. So in that case, the patient will not get a proper treatment because the model is saying the person is not having any disease. So in that case, false negatives may be very harmful. So whenever we are designing an AI model, we may be aware that how much false positive and false negative our model is generating. So because application to application, it may be important to know that it's false positive rate or it's false negative rate also. True negative and true positive is no harm because this is the right classes. But if our model is generating more false positive or more false negative, so it may be possible that it may not be useful. So these are some other matrices which are being used to test the performance of any AI model. Here we will see a website which is related to artificial neural network. So I'm switching to this. Is it visible to you? This website, neural network? I think it will not be visible. I have to share my whole screen here. Is it visible? Okay, I'm sharing my whole screen. Then only it will be visible. Entire screen. Is it visible now? Okay, hello.
Ma'am, your screen is visible.
Visible, okay.
We have a query from Ramya ma'am. I am Ramya ma'am. I'm allowing you to Okay, she just lowered her hand. Okay, no problem, ma'am. We can continue.
Okay, so this is the site to understand the behavior of neural network. Here we can see, as we have seen one perceptron. So this is the one perceptron or one neuron. Okay, so this particular square will work like a single neuron, as we have seen it, as it will take all the inputs, then it will do aggregation of all the inputs, then on the basis of activation function it will generate some output. So all these squares will be work as a single perceptron or neuron, as we have seen in our presentation. So all these are neurons, same as these are also neurons, and this is input. So in artificial neural network, we have multiple neurons. Those are connected in layers. So this is our first layer, this is our second layer. So here we can increase number of layers. For example, here we have 2 layers, we can increase it 3, 4, we can decrease it 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we can create our own number of layers here, same as we can increase number of neurons. For example, here 4 neurons, so we can increase it 5, 6, we can decrease it 5, 4. Same as here, we can increase number of neurons or we can decrease number of neurons. So it is just a simulation to understand that how neural networks are being designed. Now here some sample inputs they have given in form of images. So there may be this input, or this input, or this input. We can take any input. For example, here we have selected this input. Then ratio of training and testing, as I have discussed, we can take some data for the purpose of training and some data for the purpose of training. So by default, they have given 50%, so we can change it. For example, we want 70% data for the training and 30% data for the testing. Again, batch size means the number of samples at a time that we want to send to our model. So for example, total we have 100 samples, and at particular instance we want 10 samples to proceed. So this is the batch size, this is the neural network. We can see the simulation. Here the number of epochs. Number of epochs means number of iterations. As I was saying that in training we need multiple iterations so that the model will learn the weights. So here we have weights. You can see weights. Here weight is like this, minus 0.16, then it is 0.37. So these are some initial weight. These are some random weights. And after training, these weights will change. And here you can see even this is in right side. You can see, I think due to this, yes. So here the learning rate means how the weights will be updated. It means the step size of weight updation. And here we will see the loss. So initially you can see loss is high. It is 0.4. Loss means the difference between actual output and predicted output. And with training, this loss will get reduced. And if loss will reduce, it means accuracy will improve. So we can see the simulation of this. I'm running this button. So you can see, so very fast, loss has become 0. So if loss has become 0, you can stop training. Okay, we can test it with some other data. For example, I have taken this data and I have changed this ratio. Again, we can change learning rate also. For example, learning rate we have taken 0.1 and we have started. So here loss is being reduced slowly, and now it has been come to the training loss is 0. It means the loss on training data, and testing loss is also has become 0. So we can stop the training, and now you can see the weights. So weight will change now. Initially the weight was different. Okay. I am again starting it. For example, let me take some other data. This is the other data. Okay. So initially check these are the weights 0.28, 0.14, minus 0.2. Now we are giving training, and test loss is 0.5. So with training, loss will reduce. So it is being reduced. Okay. It is being reduced. It is now, it is 0.007. Training loss is zero. It may be also possible that sometimes test loss may not become zero. As I said, sometimes it may be possible that we are not getting 100% accuracy. So test loss is not becoming zero. It means we will not get 100% accuracy. So it is being constant now. So we may assume that now it is not being reduced. So we can stop it here. Okay, and now we can check the weights. So now weight has been changed. Initially the weights were some different values. Okay, so during training, the weights will get changed, and the purpose of changing the weight is to reduce the loss or to get the better accuracy. Or what we are expecting that whatever is being generated here will be same as the actual output that we were expecting. So this is the whole idea behind the learning of AI model, or you can say neural network model. So this is all done from my side. If you have any query, please ask.
Ma'am, we have a query from Deepika ma'am. If we can explain learning rate again.
Okay, learning rate is the step size. For example, our initial weight was 5, let's assume. Okay, and there is an algorithm which is being used to update the weight. So this learning rate is used in that particular algorithm to control that. For example, our algorithms is saying that we should subtract -1 from the weight. So new weight should be 4. But learning rate restrict to that particular 4. It means if you multiply 0.1 with the 4, so it will become 0.4. So instead of subtracting 4, we will subtract 0.4. It means we will not update weight very fast, because in that case it may be possible that algorithm will not learn properly. So there is an algorithm to update the weight, and learning rate is used in that particular algorithm, in that particular formula. If you want, I can write that formula also, but actually it is some little bit advanced concept, but I'm just writing. Okay. The formula for weight update is W new is equal to W old minus eta into derivative of loss with respect to weight. This loss is the loss function, or the function which is being used to got the error between actual output and predicted output. Okay, and this eta is the learning rate. So this learning rate is restricting to this value. For example, DL and DW, after calculation we are getting 4, and our W old was 5. So we don't want to change weight in fast manner. So what we will do, we will keep eta 0.1. So we will multiply 4 with 0.1, and we will subtract 0.4 from here. So the new weight would be 4.6. Okay, so learning rate is deciding the step size of weight updation, how fast or how slow weight will be updated. And normally this value is less than 1, because we want to restrict this particular value. It may be very large, but we don't want this large updation. We want slow updation. That's why we are using this learning rate. Any other query?
We have a query. Do we have any tutorial or no
Tutorial on what?
tutorial or notes available for the new syllabus of class 10 AI?
For specific class 10 AI syllabus, I'm not aware, but there are some basic things you can learn from, because actually what happens when you go for any kind of course, for like there are some courses available at Coursera, or there are some courses available at YouTube or LinkedIn also. But what happens if we talk about machine, because actually all these concepts are related with machine learning, even with deep learning. So these are some advanced concepts. But if we talk about class 10 student, or if we talk about the contents that has been given in the book, it is very brief content. And if you will go in the very much depth of those contents, so it will not be very much understandable by students, because there is some kind of mathematics also, there is use of linear algebra, there is use of matrix also. So those concepts are a little bit in depth concept. So for the purpose of, I think, class 10th student, we can just make aware with the basic idea, with the help of some real example, as we discussed, like watching match or not, or watching movie or not. And I think learning, the concept of learning rate is not in syllabus also, it is just available in that particular portal. So for the purpose of, I think, class 10 student, we can skip it. Or you can for your knowledge, or for your concept clarity, you can refer courses like which are available at Coursera. Andrew NG course on machine learning, it is very much good course on machine learning, and very simple also. So you can refer that course. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So, teachers, we are running short of time. So, we'll keep it the session till here only. First of all, thank you, Shweta, ma'am, for such an informative and such an informative and good session. Thank you so much. We hope to organize such sessions in the future also for our educators. And now, teachers, we have shared the feedback form link in the chat box. Kindly fill the form to get your certificates. Many of you are asking that what to fill in the KIPS manager section, right? So the person who is taking care of your school from the KIPS team, their name will be mentioned in the KIPS manager section, right? I'm sharing that feedback link again. Yeah, just a minute. I'm sharing it. So the certificates will be given based on these feedbacks only, right? Thank you, Shweta ma'am. Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
ma'am.
the
May
session.
I leave?
Yes, ma'am, you can. Thank
Okay,
you
thank you so much.
so much.